I can't get a better job because of my record. I go to AA. My kids are finally living with me. I talk to my counselor a lot.
You fall down and you get back up on the horse. I want to see this play. Who's going to play me?
I took care of my grandmother for the last 2 weeks of her life. I did things I didn't think I could do.
You didn't think you could?
No, because before, when she needed help,
You couldn't.
I couldn't. I was 4 sheets to the wind and I couldn't help nobody.
But now...
But this time, she needed me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm there. I'm solid. I can be trusted. I'm home.
Home is where the heart arrives, where it sits down in the bones after a long, long detour.
That's right.
Uh-huh.
Home is where the heart decides to live, and I don't mean only to survive, but where the heart can be alive.
This young girl is growing up everywhere.
Blackout.
You know, we're at the very beginning of that crisis intervention and helping people in that immediate, when they're reaching out for that help and trying to get out of a situation. But as you saw, the caseworkers, the character caseworkers that were on the stage, there are so many barriers that these survivors are up against. You know, 1 minute they're coming into our office and it's a matter of they need a protection order. Well, that didn't get granted. So where does that leave them? What's the next step? Or the one character who couldn't read. I see that every day in my office. We have people who don't even know how to fill out the protection order in order to keep themselves safe. So there are so many barriers that these survivors are up against, and there is an extreme lack of services. And I know that we're working very hard here in the state of New Hampshire to develop and create these services, but we're just at the beginning. And I think even nationwide, we're just at the beginning of starting to put together the services that are really, really needed for people reaching out for support.
Thank you, Joy.
Mm-hmm.
You touched on something towards the end of what you had to say about one of the difficulties being that you can't replace that need in people to belong or to be loved. And I think that touches on something that is absolutely universal.
Mm-hmm.
It's been in us. It's actually one of the few instincts that we're born with as human beings. The instinct, the need to belong and to be loved.
Yeah.
It's incredibly powerful.
Absolutely.
And I want to get to some questions that have to do with sort of the larger philosophical issues that have been with us since the beginning of human history. But before that, I want to open it up to all of you to ask questions that you might have for any or all of our panelists, because I think they've done a wonderful job of presenting some very different perspectives on this issue of human trafficking. So questions, please. Yes.
Yeah, I don't have a question yet. I am just blown away.
Of course.
And
so deep.
it's and I was blown away by your ability to make this alive for me. I don't want to see it, but you made it alive for me. And I was a little bit like, I don't think a cookie is going to allow me to shift my emotional energy. So I stayed here, and then we moved into kind of a more intellectual and personal story. And I was like, I just can't go from this to that. And then you told your story, and then I was back in it again.
Yeah.
So I really just have, I am blown away because I know this is real, but I have never been experienced or exposed to it in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I walk these hills of New Hampshire, my hopes, my dreams, and my world. Penny, I'm thinking that I may not return to these hopes, these dreams, and my world. And fly me home on a wing and a prayer. All my friends and family are there. Take me home to the New Hampshire farm. I'll lie there forever and be safe from harm.
Snake eyes and boxcars, get that come on my way to stars. Snake eyes and boxcars, get that come on my way to stars. Snake eyes and boxcars, get that come on my way to stars. Snake eyes and boxcars, get that come on my way. Lucky dice,
Get off of me, keep on rolling.
I'm feeling so right. Lucky dice,
Get off of me, keep on rolling.
I'm holding you tight. Lucky dice,
Get off of me, keep on rolling.
I'll be spending the night with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pair of dice.
Get off of me, keep on rolling.
I hold in my hand a paradise.
Get off from me, keep on rolling.
I've already planned for paradise.
Get off from me, keep on rolling.
When I finally land on 7-Eleven, come home. 6 and 1, 5 and 2. Well, you roll 'em and the tables will be good to you. 4 and 3. 3 and 4. Well, you keep on rolling sevens and you keep on winning more and more and more.
Get off of me, keep on rolling.
Feeling so right, lucky dice.
Get off of me, keep on rolling.
Holding you tight, lucky dice.
Get off of me, keep on rolling.
Spending the night with 7-Eleven, come home. Diggy bow bow, away from me. Diggy bow bow, away from me. Away from me. 6 and 1,
5 and 2,
3 and 4. Woo woo, you roll a 12. You roll a 2. Well, that's snake eyes and boxcars. That's the end of you. But 7 come 11 on that very next roll. The rent is made, the bills are paid. You pull the shade with a bottle of soda pop.
Get off of me, keep on rolling.
Feeling so right, lucky dice.
Get off of me, keep on rolling.
Holding you tight.
And the drummer it was a new drummer, and he was having he's kind of sketchy on his time. It was kind of rocky, you know, it wasn't kind of, so Chuck was really sick of that. He brought a blender to the gig. And he called the drummer the mix master, and all the time as a joke. This is like just 3 weeks before I had to finally fire the guy. At Rose's, he put the blender in the middle of the dance floor, and I don't know how he did it.
It's filled up with suds, with dishwashing detergent.
Oh, so it started bubbling up. That's right, it did. Yeah. So that's the story of the blender.
My oldest student I ever had was a fellow who was 102 when he started the mandolin with me, and he insisted on paying a week at a time.
Wild Grace, desperately hating his old place, dreamed to discover a new space, and he buried himself alive inside his basement, his tongue on the side of his basement. He's working away on displacement and what it will take to survive. 'Cause we're done with this world. You know the next is up to you. And his wife told his kids he was crazy, and his friends said he'd fail if he tried. But with the will to work hard and a library card, he took a homemade fan blade, one-man submarine ride.
I have loved you the way they said. Crazy. There's always been something wrong. Always. For as long as I could remember, but I never knew it until this happened. Stop it. You're afraid to hear it? I'm more afraid than you. I won't listen to you. Take your hands down. You've got to know it. I can't keep it any longer. I've got guilty, I am.
You are guilty of nothing.
That's what I've been trying to tell myself since the night we heard the child say it.
Yeah, I mean, I hear totally what you say about variation as well, yeah?
Well, did you feel like I was able to communicate some meaning?
Well, you know, what we get, I would say that you put your finger on the thing in terms of it frees one up in terms of, you know, we've been talking so much about text and language and stuff like that, and we can get a little bit kind of fixated on that. And this gibberish is for when, okay, let's just let that go. We don't need to worry about the words, but they were actually trying to communicate vocally as well, and can help sort of shake some of that stuff up.
Yeah.
Yeah, shake some of that
Because
stuff
I
up.
actually found also that the text meant even more to me when I was speaking gibberish.
Interesting.
And you might have noticed I kept on kind of orienting myself around the text periodically to figure out what I was trying to communicate.
In a weird way, I think it almost has the potential to help it to be more, it's not the perfect word, but personal.
They arrested them. Yeah. Me too. I was in prison for about 2 years. And then it was all right, and they let me out. That was long ago.
So,
Oh man, I can't remember everything.
it's
Huh? They arrested them.
If you belong to the ranks of those who love me, let your eyes alone disclose your sentiments, and do not tell me bluntly of coarse desires which will only affront me. Adore me if you will, but do not show it, in such a way that I'll be forced to know it. Worship me inwardly, and I shall brook it, if through your silence I can overlook it. But should you dare to speak of it outright, I'll banish you forever from my sight.
My passions, madam, need cause you no alarm. It's Henriette who's won me by her charms, and I entreat your generous soul to aid me in my designs to wed that charming lady.
What a clever dodge, you should be proud. You're very artful, it must be allowed. In all the novels I've ever read, I've never encountered a subterfuge so clever.
Madam, I meant no witty indirection. I've spoken truly of my heart's affection. By heaven's will, by ties that cannot part, I'm bound to Henriette with all my heart. It's Henriette I cherish, as I've said, and Henriette whom I aspire to wed. All that I ask of you is that you lend your influence to help me gain that end.
I well divine the hopes which you have stated, and how the name you've used should be translated. A clever substitution, sir, and I shall use the self-same code in my reply. Henriette disdains to wed, and those who burn for her must hope for nothing in return.
Madam, why must you make things difficult? Why insist upon supposing that which does not exist?
Good heavens, sir, don't stand on ceremony, denying what your looks have often shown me. Let it suffice that I am contented with this oblique approach you've invented, and that underneath this decorous disguise, your homage is acceptable in my eyes, provided you make no overture not rarefied, true, and pure. But now, it's time our talk was ended. I've already said much more than I intended.
Quite mistaken.
I'm blushing, can't you see? All this has overtaxed my modesty.
I'm hanged if I love you, madam. This is absurd.
No, I mustn't hear another word.
The devil take her in her addled brain. Stubborn fancies she can entertain. I'll turn elsewhere in the hopes to find someone with a more stable mind.
To preserve the birds, which, as it turns out, is a monumental feat.
What have the birds ever done for us? I see no reason to stick my neck out for them.
It would hardly be sticking your neck out. We're organizing a boycott. Some are buying more feathered hats. Or wear them.
You ladies are on a fool's errand. Do you know how good I look?
I think you look silly. Come on, Rob. Looks like a whole bird dead on her head.
Oh, you abominable creature!
Oh, look at me,
Oh, I'm the most abominable.
Cyclops! Faster than the wind! Artemis frees her friend Athena, and together they took down the horrible Cyclops. came upon a high hill where Zeus and Hera, the king and queen of the gods, were imprisoned in an iron cage.
Artemis, Athena, what are you doing here?
We've come to rescue you and retrieve the sword of Olympus.
Get out of here. It's a trap.
And you're trapped. Woo! Ah! 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 Hades, you scoundrel.
Thank you very much.
Give us back the sword.
Well, I'll let you have it.
Anga! And they're off. Hades with a quick attack on the right, but Athena parries! Artemis sneaking him back for a bow shot. Hades dodges. It's 2-on-1, but it's still a fair fight. Hades lunges at Artemis with furious stature. But Athena, queen of strategy, trips him from behind. Hades is down. Hades is down. The goddesses win, and the cry goes wild!
I will now take back the sword of Olympus. Hades, you are defeated.
You won this round, but I'll be back one day. Marvelous job, young goddesses. But I could have done it on my own. Let us leave this foul place and return to Olympus.
The gods returned to Olympus and had a big party for Artemis.
Hurrah!
Thus the world was returned to harmony, and their daring tale at an end.